Welcome to Conversations on the Edge with Tom and TJ, where Generation X and Millennial talk about restoration, the Edge version 3, and the world.
It's Tom and TJ again, and we are actually thrilled. We're here on the set of our Large Loss Ministry Apex Restorer course, and we have a very special guest today, Clay Anderson, and Astronaut Clay Anderson, Astro Clay, and what Clay, 161 days?
67 total.
67 and 38 minutes. So,
No, that's
just
spacewalking was 38 hours and 28 minutes. But 167 days in space.
and Clay has spent the last couple of days with us here, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have him here. We did a cookout last night and had a lot of fun talking about space. And we're going to do the same thing today. We're going to talk and just tell some stories. And so we always start out with something fun, interesting, that's not related to really anything. And for me, I got to say that this is, I'm a space guy, but I'm claustrophobic, and so I just have to be a casual observer. And I love the space program. I love going out to Kennedy Space Center. So this week we do this every December, first week in December. And so this is my favorite class, and because of that trip, and because it's always been a place, been going out to Space Center now for 3 decades. And even before, when it wasn't anything, it was just a little, and they've done an awesome job at bringing it to a new level. It's just fantastic. If you haven't been, you need to go. And I find when I go out there, I get, it gives me like energy. I feel like, I feel the history and everything, and it just kind of renews me. And so when I'm having a roadblock, that's where I go. And so we did a live demo while we were out there, a live class while we had our class out there doing the case study scenario. And so that is my fun and exciting thing that's happened to me, is I get to sit here with Clay. I'm jonesing right now for our conversation, and I'm going to have a lot of fun. So TJ, you got anything fun and exciting?
I mean, man, this has been an incredible week for me. I got to see 2 SpaceX rockets take off, one at night and one during the day from Jetty Park, where I'm camping in my RV. And, just the class was amazing. The camaraderie was amazing. It's inspiring. Getting to meet Clay and hear his stories. It's just been incredible. I've had a blast this week.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, anything in your life that's going on fun and exciting that's other than what we've been doing the last day and a half?
Well, I'm hoping to write a couple more books. I'm working on a consulting opportunity. So, things are okay. We just got back from a trip to the United Kingdom with my wife and daughter. So that was a lot of fun. And we'll see what 2026 brings.
I think it's going to be a good year. I'm excited about it myself. We got a lot of things that we're working on also. And so
do large loss mastery people pray for a year with no disasters or do you pray for maybe 1 or 2 to keep you employed?
Well, here's the way to look at it. We're like doctors or attorneys.
Uh-huh.
When you need us, we're there.
Yeah.
When you don't need us, you don't want us around. So, but we are there, and we do respond in a moment's notice.
Odds are good you're going to be needed somewhere. So,
well, there's always a disaster.
Yep.
And you can always count on fire, water, flood, whatever it may be, natural disaster. We did the World Trade Center in '93 after terrorist bombing, and so even after bombs. And so we have. I'm gonna try and go without my glasses here. It's all blurry, but we're all right.
I look the same.
And so it's an exciting industry. It's always changing. It's probably, I don't want to say it's similar to, maybe space, it's, you're going to the same place, but it's probably different each time you go up. There's a different mission. It's the same place, but you're still, a different mission and all that stuff. And so we have that same thing where we may go to the same client, 3 or 4 times, and it's a totally different event each time that we go. We're not hanging off of the space station, at 17,000, how many miles?
500
17
plus or minus X.
We'll round it up to 18,000. I like to round to 80.
That's what the guy said on your briefing there, that a lot of guys like to round stuff up. So I was paying attention.
Yeah.
But so tell us about, the one thing that that when I think about the launch, because it just seems like, I don't know if if it's just the adrenaline or something, but it just seems like it's the most violent thing you can probably go through, like a crash or something, like you're getting rattled, like you're in a washing machine or something. Is that kind of?
I'd say it looks a lot worse than it is, because most of the time things happen normally.
Yeah.
And so it's planned that you're going to feel this much force and this much shaking and this much noise on a good day. And you're ready for that.
Yeah.
It's the bad days that you really don't know and they can't train you for, when you're going to pull way more G's than 3, or, you think about the Challenger crew and they were launching and they expected nothing wrong to go wrong.
Yeah.
And the next thing they knew, they were in their capsule heading down and no way to, nothing to deal with.
Yeah.
So they train the fear out of you.
Okay.
At least that's what I tell people, that you're so trained and so focused on what you're supposed to do. It's like your guys, when you respond to an emergency and you have a job to do, your guys know what they have to do. And so they methodically take the steps and execute each step. And I'm guessing that you don't short sheet a step to get to the next one quicker, right? It's imperative that you do the first step carefully and correctly before you move to the next and before you move to the next. And that's how we're trained to focus on procedure and process, to make sure everyone on the crew, everyone on the ground team, everyone on the launch control team, all those people are working in concert to make the right thing happen. And then if it goes that way, it's a cool ride. It's a little bumpy. It's like a great roller coaster ride, but it was awesome.
It's got to be cool when you get to all of a sudden, and you hear, like you said, you hear that. Psh.
Yeah, I heard just a hiss, like, psst, and then it was like, there's crap floating. And then, but then you can't sit there for too long, I don't think, and say, oh, look at, oh, what's my next step? And so my next step on the crew was to start going to work and get my clothes off so that I could help get everybody else's clothes off, so that I could turn on the toilet, so that I could turn on the hygiene station and the food prep, right? So you don't want to be the guy that messes up your steps, because now you're behind the curve. And you guys know in your line of work that if you get behind the curve and you're on a schedule and you get behind, right, the tendency to rush is always there.
Yep.
But that enhances the tendency to make a mistake.
Yes.
So
safety is always, because for example, if we were here at this facility, safety is paramount in everything, because it's not only of the safety of our crew, but the safety of our clients, and getting from point A to point B without any more issues.
Right.
Because they already had a disaster. You don't want to have any more. And so it's preparing for all of that. And so it's the project management part of it. That's the fun part. And I can imagine just the planning and everything that goes into the a launch is just unbelievable.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we've done some work out at NASA and RFP just for
Oh, yeah.
cleaning a building.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so I would imagine that the procedures that you guys have to know is just enormous.
I have a question about that. So being in the disaster recovery business, we deal with a lot of burst pipes, sewage backups.
Mhm.
Who do they train to be the plumber?
Well, everybody. So when you're on a shuttle crew, the pilot is the toilet guy, which, what is the toilet guy? Well, he's the guy that pushes the mechanism that halfway through the mission squashes all the poop into a corner so that you can fill it with more poop.
It doesn't get ejected? In
No,
space?
urine does on the shuttle. Poop does not. Now on the space station, it's different. In the space station, you pee into a can that's got Russian kitty litter in it, basically. And then you poop into a plastic bag that then goes into a can. And then the Russian is responsible. And I don't know who's responsible these days because there's two toilets. Both are Russian built, but they're two toilets. And so one's on the American side, one on the Russian side. So you have to put a glove on. You have to pack all those things down so you can try to put more in the can before it goes away. And it goes away by being stored into a cargo vehicle that's empty. And so you put the trash in it and it burns up in the atmosphere. So the poop all comes down as flux in your eyes and stuff when you're driving.
That's lovely.
But it's,
That's what that was.
but we were all trained. Yeah, exactly. You're sitting there, oh God, and you're looking at the light coming in the window. And you're seeing all that flex and stuff. And what is that? Oh, that's space poop.
Start to sneeze or something.
Yeah, tell my kids about that.
Well, we had training in all the systems. So the air conditioning system, the oxygen system, the toilet system, the food system, right? Depending on what happened. And most of the time they were very reliable, so you don't have to do anything.
I would hope so.
But we had the toilet break on us. I remember I was in the lab on the space station. I just had a great lunch and I'm working doing something, and Oleg comes down and says, Clay, asu nie работает. No, that means the toilet doesn't work. And then he looks at me and he goes, Clay, no jest, no eat. And I thought, geez, I just had a big ass lunch. And when you're in space and microgravity, your body knows exactly when it's time to empty your large intestine, right? I mean, it knows exactly, or at least mine did.
What's the protocol from there? Do you have like a bag or something?
Very good question. So for us, we only had one toilet on the station at the time. And so with it being broken, I had to use this. I had to hold it or use the Soyuz. And in the Soyuz,
Is that a Russian sock?
No, that's a Russian capsule that's going to take you home in an emergency. And so it only has limited consumables. And so you don't really want to use the toilet paper in there and all that unless you have to.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, I had to. So Oleg put me in the Soyuz and he partially closed the hatch. And I took out if you imagine a Maxwell House coffee can pinched into an oval with a handle on it, and you kind of ride it like a pony. And it has this true, I'm not making anything, and it has a plastic bag liner on it that has a slit with a rubber slit, right? So it overlaps. And so you reach into the slit, you pull the rubber part open, and then you do your duty, and then you pop the rubber thing over, and then you stuff all the nastiness, the towels and stuff into the bag, and then the bag gets double bagged and placed in that Progress cargo ship that's going to take it away.
Gotcha.
So I only had to use the Soyuz once, but I'm proud to say that I pooped in 4 different spaceships. I don't know if that's a record, but
Well, we were talking earlier about how complex the American side of the space station is versus the Russian side. And we're Americans and we have money to spend, and so I guess
taxpayers
we create redundant systems and make things more complicated than they probably need to be. But so there's this old saying that says that NASA spent $1 billion on on a pen that writes in space,
Oh.
and the Russians use a pencil.
Yeah.
Is that true? The
No,
Russians
that's a
use
myth. So the Fisher Space Pen is true, and it writes in space, but it was not invented for the space program. It was invented for other purposes and then adopted by the space program.
Gotcha.
But the joke's still funny.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
Yeah. Well, it kind of it relates to more simplistic approach.
Right, right. The example I would like to use is in the Russian segment, you open the valve by opening it, grabbing it, turning it like you'd open your faucet at home. And in the US side, you went to the laptop and you typed in some commands and you went to a display. It's like Googling on the internet, right? And going to Amazon to buy something, and you got to go down. I got to go,
Yep.
oh, do I want to buy this? And then you, click on that. Oh, yeah. And then, click on that. Okay. And you go down, 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 down. And you finally get to where you buy the pair of shoes you want. And you're 37 screens down into the process. And that's kind of how it was on the space station.
Sounds like my wife could be an astronaut
Oh, yeah.
because she can do that shit on
You can-
Amazon fast.
Yep. Point and click, point and click. Yes, sir.
So you spent a lot of time in spacewalks, which and I watched your one of your speeches on gravity, and then
That was one of my shitty ones.
and then one of your TED talks, and but it's funny because I like Gravity. It's one of my not a lot of people like that movie, but
Best comedy,
it's
space comedy ever.
it is just there is a lot of very hilarious. But
Sandra Bullock and Spanx is 3.5 stars.
I think so.
Mhm.
I think so, and but but the interesting thing about it was, it's just the thinking about the outside of the space station, and you're out there working, and you're circling the Earth, and it just seems just unbelievable that do you never look down, or do you look down every once in a while? Is there, because it seems like it would just be like you'd almost be out there going, oh my God, look at this. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's definitely true. For me, my first spacewalk, I was the lead spacewalker. So again, there's pressure and stress that I didn't want to screw up. And, but when I was out there are times you're so focused working on the tasks that you forget where you are, and you forget what's below you and above you. And so you have to kind of tell yourself to stop and take a look around. My best recollection for my first spacewalk, we were on the front of the station, but during the night, the station had turned around to fly backwards. So I was on the front, but we were flying backwards. And I was working on a platform at the front to connect a foot restraint to the Canadian arm, because I was going to get on the arm like a cherry picker. And as we're doing that, I'm jacking with it. I'm hanging up a tool so I could pick it up later. And all of a sudden the moon rose, and the moon doesn't rise slowly like it does on Earth, right? Since you're moving 17,500 miles per hour, it comes up pretty fast. And I looked and I go, oh my God, that's so awesome,
That
right?
had to be unreal.
And that's when you realize where you are, and you just go,
It's a lot closer.
oh yeah. Well, it's not, but
Well, I mean, it kind of.
I was 240 miles closer. But it's breathtaking what you see, and my reaction to it. You got to be careful what you say in the loops, because you don't want to go, oh shit,
Yeah.
and have everybody hear you.
Thinking you're having an incident.
Somebody's cussed before, but not me. Fortunately, I didn't do it. But
That'd be hard.
it was like, oh my God, it's incredible. But then you go, okay, I got to go back to work. And so there's probably a lot of stuff I missed as we flew over the Earth doing the tasks. So you don't think to look down, and until you do, and then you go, oh, that's cool. And maybe I recognize where we were, maybe not. But, and there's also a lot of pressure to stay on the timeline. And if you take 5 minutes to look around, there's a fear that, we'll get behind on the timeline. You can't have that.
What about looking out away from us into space? Like, it has to just be incredible, especially when you're not on the side of the sun, right?
Yes. Then I don't really recall doing that part, right? Most of the time when I was looking, I was hoping that the sun was out so I could see the Earth. But if the sun's not out, you see the lights of Earth, which is really cool too, right? You see the big cities lit up.
Yeah.
And you can, like, if you're flying over Florida, the East Coast of the United States, you can see Miami and Orlando and Atlanta and all the way up the coastline, which is kind of a cool thing. It almost looks like somebody took a bright lights and did the outline of the United States of America.
Nice.
And honestly, it's almost been 20 years now from that time, and my memory's starting to fade on as to what I saw at night. If you're inside and it's night, we look down. It was hard to look to the side because we didn't have very many windows that did that. But you could get some cool views then. But you have to, it's like being in your car. You have to darken everything on the inside to look
To be able to look out.
through a window to look out, right?
Okay.
And it was hard to darken everything in the space station because it's got computer screens, it's got lights and things
They
going.
can't just turn things off.
No, that would be bad. That would be bad.
Now, the space station, now, is it gravity that holds it in space? So it's the road, because it's kind of, I guess I heard that it was described that it's constantly falling towards Earth.
Right.
And it's because of that that keeps it in.
Yeah. So I was talking to a young man last night at dinner, and we talked about swinging a bucket of water around. You know, as long as you swing it at the right velocity, the water stays in the bucket. But if it slows down, right, and gravity begins to pull on it, it's just kind of similar with Earth. Anytime you launch something from Earth to space, you have to do it such that the velocity you reach keeps you in orbit.
Mhm.
And then that orbit that you're in is falling. You're falling at the same rate that the Earth is curving. And so they're essentially circular orbits. They're really elliptical, but for most intents, they're circular.
So when you go off of, so when you're, say you're getting you go off the station. So
Mhm.
you're floating in space.
Mhm.
So technically you're going 17,500 miles an hour
Mhm.
all by yourself.
Right.
And it's just amazing that when you jump off that you just don't, it's gone, or something, but you just keep up with it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
How did we figure out that was the case?
Well, if you're in a car on the highway and there's a car with you driving the exact same speed that you're driving parallel next to you,
Mhm.
right? As long as there are no external forces like friction, like wind, like whatever, those two cars are going relative to each other 0 miles per hour,
Mhm.
even though they're going 180, whatever,
Mhm.
to 17,500 miles an hour. So in theory, one guy could roll down his window in this car and reach over and climb onto the other car, right? Because they're traveling with 0 relative motion between the two.
I've seen some guys do that.
Oh yeah, no, they're nuts, but right, because you can't control the external factors. But if you're in space, then the same situation exists. The station travels in its orbit at 17,500 miles per hour, and you're on the station traveling at the same speed. So if I push away from the station, we're traveling at the same speed, except now I have a force in this direction, which changes the relative motion between the two.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful what you do, because if you push the wrong way and your tethers don't hold, then that's when your pucker factor increases by an exponential amount.
But just pushing off, and going and doing that, where you see that iconic picture of, I don't know what astronaut it was, with,
Bruce McCandless
way
and
off on the,
man maneuvering unit. Yeah.
and I see that picture and that's mind blowing, because it's just like,
But the guys that did all that understood orbital mechanics
Yeah.
and how objects move in space. And so if he, for example, if we're traveling this way and he moved away from it this way, they're in the same orbit, right? So he knows what his rate is going this way,
Okay.
and then he can stop that rate, but he's still in the same orbit. So now he's traveling
With it.
right. So if you understand all that and you train and practice with that manned maneuvering unit to
Yeah.
know how to make it
Yeah.
do what it's supposed to do, it works. And we trained on a virtual reality simulation in a similar environment because our spacesuits, when we did a spacewalk, had a jetpack on the back.
Yeah.
As a backup.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you were stupid enough to unhook all your tethers and go or fall off,
Did you
is
think
what-
about it?
No. I mean, I was meticulous, right?
But it never crossed your mind, like just once thinking about it?
I had a wife and kids I loved.
I get it.
Now, if I didn't, maybe,
Yeah.
or, if I owed a lot in taxes or something.
So talk about, your family and because that's got to be, I mean, talk about difficult. You were talking about, phone call, with your wife, and that first trip. And it's just like, that has got to be one of the toughest things. And, like you said, you almost weren't even thinking about the launch and the violence and everything that you were going through to get into space. It was just like, you were still like, man, it's just, is that the last phone call?
Right.
And it's got to be, at home too. I mean, it's like,
With young kids. Your kids were young.
Well, they, I guess some astronauts talk about their ability to compartmentalize. The fighter pilots use that term a lot, right? That they could separate.
Block it out.
And I guess I could too. I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but the day before we launched, they brought our spouses out and we got a private pad tour. So we went out to the shuttle and my wife and I together alone with all the other spouses alone together, you could wander the pad and you could go up the elevator to the 195-foot level. And then there were stairs that could take you all the way to the top of the external tank. And I write about that in my book, The Ordinary Spaceman, where my wife and I, it was like our first date. I mean, there's so much anxiety between the two of us. We didn't know what to say to each other. So we didn't talk much. We just wandered around and hugged a lot and squeezed our hands a lot. And we were on the base level before we got on the elevator. And we were talking about my father, who had passed away in 1984, and how proud he would be and to see all this. And about that time, a little yellow butterfly came and flew around my head. And we thought, oh, that's cute. A butterfly. Well, maybe that's Dad. He's come to tell us it's going to be okay. So we walk around a little more. We get on the elevator. We go up to the 195-foot level. We hop out of the elevator and we're looking at the gantry-way where we're going to walk in. I take her to see the toilet. When we come back to the gantry-way, I'm standing there and there's the yellow butterfly. Now it's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. And we squeezed and we hugged and we cried. And then we went on the stairway that you walked up to get to the very top, the highest point of the vehicle, which is the pointy thing on the top of the external tank. So we're even with that. We're looking out at this beautiful view of the Kennedy Space Center and in Florida and the Atlantic Ocean. Son of a gun, here's that butterfly flying around my head again. And, I'm sitting there, I didn't know butterflies flew that high. I mean, did anybody know they flew that high? Because we're 200 plus feet above the earth. And the fact that it was the same, or what we thought was the same yellow butterfly every time, and the fact that we've been talking about my dad made it hugely emotional up at the top of that vehicle, knowing that I'm leaving the planet tomorrow and I may never see her again. So
That's crazy.
yeah, that was a
It's hard.
pretty moving story.
Yeah.
And you can't make that stuff up.
no, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know,
Right.
about everything. And that's got to be the hardest part is just don't know when you are strapping, your ass to a rocket.
Big rocket. Rocket that has failed in the past.
Well, it's it is it's a dangerous thing. So one of the things with space junk, so we'll switch gears in a bit. Space junk, when you're up on the side of, of the space station, and of course, gravity, space, that was a problem. And, but I was watching some show and they said there was like this band around the Earth of all the space junk that's up there. And it keeps growing, of course. It seems, satellites die or whatever. They just kind of stay in orbit.
Right.
Is that, where's the space station? Is that above or below that?
Space station below that. So most people don't know. If you can Google this, because I have the chart and I teach my freshman aerospace engineering students at Iowa State about this, that most of the debris is really, really high.
Okay.
It's 33,000 miles high. That's where most of the geostationary satellites are.
The weather satellites.
All that stuff, the spy satellites.
Yep.
And that is, if you look at this chart that's on Google, it will tell you that stuff that high takes decades to come down.
Okay.
But if you have two satellites that collide, two pieces become 2,000 pieces, right? And they all have velocities and forces in different directions. So now you're creating this cloud of debris around the Earth.
Yeah.
And it's at all different levels, but the station's only 240 miles above the Earth, and all this other stuff is way up here. And so some of it all spirals due to the tug of gravity, lower and lower each year. And some of it gets down to the point where it enters the atmosphere. Some of it hits the space station. We've had dings of things. The shuttle's had dings on it many times. But it's highly unpredictable because we can track things about the size of a baseball or bigger. But some of these pieces are little bolts. Yeah, and they're flying at the speed of a bullet through space and can cause tremendous damage if it hits something. So one of the problems I challenge my freshman kids at Iowa State with is that, hey, one day maybe you'll be the people that solve this problem. How do you solve it? I don't know. Maybe magnets, maybe nets, maybe, I think Elon takes his little Starlink satellites and they have little thrusters on them. So if they die, they fly down into the atmosphere purposefully and burn up. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a major problem in my lifetime, I think.
yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a problem now, right? But the space station is going to deorbit in 2030. And
Would that be an emotional moment for you?
I don't know. Probably to a certain level.
Yeah.
Depends on where it comes in, whether it'll be visible where I am, whether I fly to see it, because NASA won't fly any of us to see it, I don't think. They might fly some of them, but they won't fly me. But those are things that I want to be a part of. My wife and I came to the Artemis 1 launch here. I guess I have been here since 2013. I forgot about it. We came to the Artemis launch that didn't happen. And so we were here for a few days. And it was cool to be a part of that, even though I wasn't a part of it. And that emotionally for me, it tugs at my heartstrings because I still want to be a part of it. I wanted to go to my grave in the astronaut office, right? I wanted to be part of the future. When I quit flying, I wanted to help lead the young astronauts, and I wasn't granted that opportunity. So, it will be emotional to see the space station burn up in the atmosphere. It'll be disappointing. We spent a lot of money and time to make it what it was.
Yep.
And it'd be like you guys building a facility on Earth, using it for 10 years and then tearing it down. I mean, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
So, and maybe it won't come down in 2030. I mean, there's people talking about all these different things. Well, we're going to build a space station that's going to go up and dock to the old space station, and then we're going to keep part of it up there, and we're going to add modules, and the Russians are going to separate from the Americans, and the Russians will stay up here, and Americans will add up here, and we'll have two space. I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah,
It all costs money.
Yeah. Well, the old saying is the answer is money.
Mm-hmm.
In the space game.
Whatever question you have,
No bucks, no buck rod.
The answer is money.
Yeah. 3Ds of space flight. It's dangerous, it's difficult, and it takes dollars. That's Astro Clay's 3Ds of space flight.
3Ds.
It's kind of like restoration, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, we've got our 3Ds. So what did you think hanging out with us for a couple of days?
I liked it. The cool thing for me is having been the director of the Emergency Operations Center in Houston, I understand what you're dealing with. I understand about hurricanes, and I understand about terrorist bombing attacks. I understand about fire and medical emergencies and all those things. We used to, I tried to get, the FBI came to the Johnson Space Center when I was the head of the Emergency Operations Center, and they wanted to do a drill. And they wanted to do it at Johnson Space Center, and they wanted to simulate a terrorist bombing going off in Mission Control. And they wanted to do triage in the cafeteria, and they wanted to do this, and they wanted to do, and oh yeah, what a great idea, what a great opportunity. And the center director at the time said no, because he didn't want us to expose our weaknesses. Well, I was new on the job, and one of my roles was to create better processes for our response. And so as a guy who'd come from mission operations and the plan, train, execute mantra, it was difficult at first to get the fire and the medical and the security people to understand plan, train, fly.
Yeah.
But when I got them to buy in and we did our first simulation of a kid getting kidnapped from the daycare and nobody knowing what to do and chaos ensuing, right? And then talking about here's how we make it better. They were on board. They finally believed. And so I thought doing this FBI thing would be amazing, but the center director said, no, we'd be too exposed. We'd show our weaknesses, and he didn't want to do that, which was hugely disappointing to me. But I kind of understood what he was saying. I didn't necessarily agree, but we weren't given that opportunity. We did plan, however, since hurricanes are so prevalent down there, to create a way to work with the Galveston on evacuation plans and debris. Think about all the debris from a hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you going to put it? And so we had a lot of land at the Johnson Space Center that nobody was using. So we were working out plans to, okay, you're dumping all the crap here, and we're going to have transport people here to here to here to get them out, because at that time, nobody thought about the old people on their oxygen machines, and power goes out. What do you do?
Yeah.
So you can only get better if you understand where you're weak. And that's why I love that job. I had a blast.
Yep. You always have to think about what you don't know.
Right.
And, we're comfortable with what we know, but it's what you don't know is the main thing, because that's what gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And
same in space.
Yeah. Well, TJ, you got any?
I got one last question about aliens, or life beyond Earth. Just want an opinion. Do you think life, exists out there?
Yes. So the universe is huge.
Right.
It's massively huge. Nobody can wrap their brain around how big it is. So imagine it's a pizza. And on this crust over here is us, the species that sent humans to the moon and back safely, working on going back again. Haven't done much in between the times, but we've done that, right? So at the opposite crust of our universal pizza, which is huge and massive, what if there's a species doing the exact same thing we're doing, right? So the trick will be, how do you meet that species in the middle of the pepperoni on the big ass pizza? Well, it's possible, given time, given money, and given brain development of the human brain, so that we can develop the technology to maybe one day do that. So I can't, and look at all these, what do they call them? What are the planets that are like Earth?
Yeah.
Sister planets or something.
Finding more and more all the time.
Yeah, they're finding more and more all the time. And so that gives them, and if you think about it, if you look at all the stars in the Milky Way, we're the only species on our planet. We're the only species in our solar system. We're the only species in the Milky Way galaxy that we know of that can do anything like we're doing. And so the odds are good that we're the only species in the universe. But I've argued with Larry the Cable Guy about this, because he's a very solid man of faith and very smart man. And he believes that the biblical truths are pretty evident. But when I talked about my pizza analogy with him, he kind of, but
Yeah.
it's just a,
Well, I'm kind of in there with Carl Sagan. It'd be a terrible waste of space
yeah, yes,
if we were the only ones.
yes. And we're pretty arrogant too, as a
Yes.
species,
That's right.
to think that we're the only
Yeah.
ones. But if my other talk about this is, hey, if they came and helped us build the pyramids, or they helped us build the Aztec nation, or whatever the hell they helped us do, where are they?
Yeah.
Why would they come and do that back then, and then they're gone?
Yeah.
Why would they? I don't know. So, but it fascinates me.
Maybe they will when we're getting ready for the next step.
Maybe.
Sometimes I think we're in the adolescent stage of humanity.
Sure.
We're not
Sure.
quite ready.
Elliot.
But if you want to,
Yep.
if you want to learn more about Clay and his life, pick up The Ordinary Spaceman. And Clay, it has been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Yep.
And,
Very cool.
Don't be a bit surprised if I try to line you up for next year. We're here every year in December, the first week in December. This year is really nice. Sometimes it's cold, but it's relative, for Florida. But it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
I think
Same to you guys. And I expect book sales to go way up after this. I'm a shameless promoter, so.
Well, very good. Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you, bud.
You bet, Tom.
Cheers.
TJ, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Conversations on the Edge with Tom and TJ. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like what you hear, leave us a review. Join us next time for another Conversation on the Edge.